Welcome to the Widows Collective, where grief meets hope, healing, and community. I'm Lauren Lentz, grief coach, fellow widow, and the heart behind this space. There is life before loss, and then there is life after. If you're here, it likely means your life has been turned upside down by the death of your person. Maybe you've just found yourself in this new world that feels unrecognizable, or maybe you've been walking it for a while, trying to figure out what healing looks like now. I want you to know you are not alone. This podcast is a gathering place for widows living in the after. Together, we'll name the ache, honor the love, and share tools, truths, and stories that help you feel supported along the way. My hope is that every episode gives you a sense of community, comfort, and permission to meet yourself exactly where you are. Hello, and welcome back to episode 10, A Different Kind of Christmas. With Christmas just a couple days away, I want to start by sharing my first Christmas without Kevin because I think it helps normalize the magnitude and the messiness that often shows up. Before I go any further, I want to say this. If you're listening while doing the dishes or on a walk or lying in your bed trying to get through the day, I'm really glad you're here. I'm grateful that you're here. And if Christmas feels heavier this year or confusing or nothing like it used to, know that you're not alone in that. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I didn't want anything that felt like a celebration that year. I didn't put up a tree, I didn't hang lights, and I definitely didn't want gifts. At that point, it felt like all material things had lost their pull. They felt insignificant in a world that had been completely rearranged. And that surprised me because I had always loved Christmas. I loved the rituals, the anticipation, the meaning we wrapped around it. But that year, none of it landed. It wasn't that I didn't care. It was that my heart and my body and my mind were maxed out. The only gift I truly wanted was impossible, and I know you know where I'm headed with this. I wanted a rewind. I wanted Kevin to still be here. And when you experience a loss like that, your world narrows. Your focus gets smaller. So I centered what felt supportive for my son without pushing myself beyond what I could handle. I told my family that if it felt important for him to have gifts or for there to be a few stockings just to create some sense of normalcy, I was open to it. I was already carrying more than I could hold. The days leading up to Christmas were really hard. The anticipation of another first without Kevin had me moving between feeling numb and disconnected and then suddenly being so deep in my feels that I was afraid I'd never find my way back out. Then Christmas morning came, and I actually felt capable of taking on the day. I went with what I now realize was my plan A, even though at the time I didn't know I needed more than one plan. I was still so new to widowhood. So I went to my parents' house like I always did. Looking back now, I can see how tender I was, how much I expected myself to just power through because that's what I had always done. But grief doesn't care how strong you've been. It didn't take long to realize that grief doesn't follow plans, and neither did my 15-month-old son who had completely regressed in sleep since his daddy died. Within an hour, I was crying, I was exhausted. My son was having a full meltdown, which sent me straight into one of my own. Plan A went out the window. And I remember feeling embarrassed about that at the time, like somehow I had failed, like I couldn't get it right. I couldn't get it together. Within 2 hours, I packed up and went home, just the two of us. I remember getting in my car and feeling so angry. I thought, I never asked for this life. This is so unfair. How am I supposed to raise a child on my own? How am I supposed to keep going when it feels like time has stopped in my world? I walked into the house, closed the door, laid down on the floor, and absolutely bawled my eyes out. Christmas felt ruined, and not just that day. I was terrified that this was what Christmas would feel like from here on out, that this was what life would feel like from here on out. The only person I wanted in that room, aside from my son, was no longer there. I was left to navigate all of this on my own with no idea what that would even look like. And that fear stayed with me long after the tears stopped. That day and the weeks leading up to Christmas Day showed me something I didn't yet have the language for. Grief doesn't just change how we feel. It changes what we can hold. It changes how we think, and it changes what matters. So in this episode, I want to talk about why that happens, why things like gifts and celebrations can suddenly feel insignificant or completely overwhelming, and why lowering the bar can actually be one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. One of the first noticeable shifts in grief is a change in meaning. For many of us, when we lose a spouse, the world no longer feels the way it used to. The assumptions we had about life, safety, and the future quietly fall apart. Things that once felt special may suddenly feel heavy or shallow, distant or empty. You might notice this in subtle ways at first. Conversations feel different. Traditions don't land. Well-meaning comments suddenly sting. Not because people are doing anything wrong, but because you have changed. Grief pulls your focus inward. Your energy is spent holding yourself together, navigating the ache, and surviving moments that feel impossibly raw. In that space, what feels meaningful begins to shift, away from what looks good on the outside and toward what feels honest, grounding, and real internally. You may find yourself craving simplicity or quiet, connection, or even more depth. That shift doesn't always announce itself loudly. It can look like a private moment of remembrance, a deeper need for community with those who understand, and for many, in doing less, because meaning now lives in depth, not appearance. This all can feel really unsettling. You might even think, why don't I want what I used to want? Why does this feel so different now? Nothing has gone wrong. This is grief reshaping your internal compass. And when meaning changes, it naturally affects how we experience things like gifts and holidays. When you lose someone you love, especially your partner, you lose something irreplaceable. There is no object, no gesture, no wrapped box that comes close to the magnitude of that loss. So of course, material things can start to feel small. This isn't ingratitude, it isn't coldness, it's perspective. I want to say that again because so many people carry shame here. This is not you being ungrateful. It's you living inside a loss that has changed the scale of everything. Your world has shifted, and so has the lens through which you see everything. You may notice guilt or anger, especially when everyone else seems to be celebrating while you're barely holding it together. It's understandable. What's happening is more subtle than it looks. You're gravitating toward what feels manageable and stepping away from what does not. So when gifts don't spark excitement the way they once did, it isn't failure, and it doesn't have to be forever. It's clarity. Not intellectual clarity, but lived clarity. A knowing in your body and heart about what you can and cannot hold right now. If all that resonated, I invite you to pause for a moment and ask, what feels heavy in this moment? What feels steady? There's no right answer. This isn't a quiz. I just want you to notice what comes up for you. That awareness leads us directly to knowing how to lower our own Christmas bar, our own standards for anything that's coming up for us right now. Lowering the bar isn't about settling or giving up the holidays. It's about honesty. Grief shrinks your capacity. Things you once handled with ease, like long gatherings, full schedules or elaborate traditions may now feel overwhelming or unbearable. And when we expect ourselves to show up the same way we always have, we often end up feeling disappointed, frustrated, or sometimes even ashamed, like there's something wrong with us, like we have become this dark, terrible human. And none of that's true. Lowering the bar helps us close the gap. It might look like fewer plans, simpler traditions, shorter visits, or opting out entirely. It's not a failure. It's self-care. It's self-respect. It's choosing to protect your energy in a season that already asks so much of it. Lowering the bar doesn't mean this is how things will always be. It means this is how they are right now. In grief, we often have this tendency to see in black and white, right? No gray space. It's either things were really good, how they used to be, or they're always going to be terrible. Like from here on out, they're going to be terrible, and it doesn't have to be that way. Even with a lower bar, oftentimes people want some small thread of connection, not out of obligation, but because it feels grounding and safe or supportive. That connection could be to yourself, to your memories, or to others who feel comforting. These are invitations, not expectations. So I'm going to share a few. Take what fits, leave the rest. It could look like sitting with a warm drink and letting yourself daydream or even cry. Wrapping one gift slowly, intentionally, without multitasking. Choosing one photo or memory to sit with and stopping there. Stepping outside for fresh air when the house feels too full. Joining a small group or gathering that feels calming. Or hopping on a short call with someone who lets you show up exactly as you are. And if even hearing these ideas feels like too much, that's okay. Here's something you can do anywhere at any time. Place a hand on your chest. Take a slow breath in and an even slower breath out. Remind yourself, there is no solution for this moment. All you need to do is stay with it. That counts. When you lower the bar, something important happens. You give yourself permission to be human, not always composed, not always festive, and definitely not always doing it right. You may still come undone. I know I did more than once. And that doesn't say anything about your strength. It says you're responding honestly to something profoundly hard. Sometimes moments of connection are quiet. Sometimes they're messy. Sometimes they arrive when you least expect them. They matter because they meet you where you actually are, not where you think you should be. What I hope you take from this very quick episode today is that grief doesn't only live in the ache of missing someone. It lives in the subtle, everyday shifts that follow, in what matters, in what you can handle, and in how you experience things that once felt easy and full of joy. When gifts feel insignificant or traditions feel all-consuming, those aren't problems to fix. They're gentle cues from your grief showing you what your heart can hold right now. Lowering the bar is one way of honoring that truth, letting this season reflect your reality instead of forcing yourself into an expectation. Your holidays may be quieter. They may be messier. They may not look like what you imagine because the person you love the most isn't here. And yet, love is still present in the care you offer yourself and in the way you carry them forward with you. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you shared it with someone who might need it. And join me for episode 11, Anticipating the New Year, a year without you in it, where we'll talk about stepping into a new year when the person we love isn't coming through it with us. Until next time, big hugs and lots of love. You've been listening to the Widows Collective. I'm Lauren Lentz, and it means so much to me that you spent this time here today. If you found comfort or connection in today's episode, I invite you to please subscribe, leave a rating, or share it with someone who might need a little support. You can also follow me on Instagram at I'm Sorry We're Friends and join my email list at laurenlentz.com to explore my one-to-one grief coaching, group program, retreats, and other tools designed to help widows navigate loss with understanding and guidance. I hope you'll join me next week for another conversation where we'll continue exploring grief, healing, and ways to reimagine life after loss. I'm sorry you're here, and I'm so grateful that you are. Thank you for being a part of this community. Your presence is an act of courage and self-compassion, and I'm honored to walk this path alongside you.